Blog Talk Radio.
Good evening, everybody. Once again, Wednesday night, 8 p.m. Central Standard Time, 6 p.m. Pacific here in California, and you are listening to IHWE Radio. I am your host, Michael McCurdy. As always, I am the creator, the author of Encyclopedia WCCW, and I am being joined, as I am every week, by my very gracious co-host, the man with the plan, the tower of power, a little too sweet and not very sour, Mr. David Fuller. David, how you doing tonight, man?
I'm doing all right. It's been a long day, but ready to rock and roll. We got a big show tonight, big announcement. Yeah, big week. Biggest week in our business. Let's do this.
You got it, man. We got a huge announcement coming up, but you got to calm yourself. You got to wait. We're going to make him wait a little bit. We're going to be bringing on Karl Lauer tonight, Executive Vice President of the Cauliflower Alley Club. He's going to be joining us. He's going to talk a little bit, talk about his career. He's got some stories to share with us. And then we can make the announcement. Build the suspense. Make the fans wait for the big announcement. I know that's tough for you, but we're going to make the fans wait for the big announcement.
Fair enough.
Can you handle that? Okay.
I guess I have no choice.
Well, we got to build a little suspense. Do have a couple other small announcements to make tonight, though. We were talking a couple weeks ago that in May we were going to have some of the lovely Glow Girls on joining us for an hour or two in the month of May. But unfortunately, one of our scheduled guests is going to be going in for surgery the day before the show was scheduled. So we are having to postpone that show until June. They will be on, though. I am talking to a few of the girls. I got a couple surprises lined up, I hope. So, just waiting to sign on the dotted line there, get them all confirmed, and we'll make some announcement who's coming on. I can say we do have Gremlina. She's the one that will be going in for surgery the day before the show. We do have her. So if any of the fans out there remember Gremlina from back in the Glow days, she'll be on, and she's got a couple of her friends coming on with us that night. So it's going to be a good show. We're just going to have to wait a few weeks. But they will be on.
Word.
And another announcement, this is a little pat on my own back. Everyone out there in Radio Land knows that on the 22nd of this month, Joe Souza and I put on a stellar wrestling card here in Eureka, California at Redwood Acres Fairgrounds. In fact, it was so popular that we have been asked to come back the same time next year. So for any of our Humboldt County listeners, I know there are a few. I have some friends out there, just a couple, but they listen. We are coming back. It will be Rumble in the Redwoods #2 coming in February or March of 2015, right before WrestleMania. So, we're not going to try to compete. I don't think we can match them, and I'm going to WrestleMania next year, so it's 5 hours away. But we are coming back, so I'm kind of excited about that we put on a good enough show that they want us to come back and do it again. So that's kind of a little pat on the back to let you know you did a good job.
Yeah, I mean, anytime you're asked back, it is a big pat on the back that you were asked back. Congratulations. Hopefully lessons were learned from the last show. I always tell people, if you can learn something from each show, stuff you can improve on, stuff to amplify the next time around. So I think the fans of Eureka will be in for a real treat. So congratulations, and it's going to be there should be a stellar encore.
That's what we're hoping. We're hoping for stellar. We did learn a few lessons, definitely. We now know who to go for a ring. We're going to kind of stick with what worked for us the last time, so we're bringing back a lot of the same crew. We're already getting down the same guy to help us book. We got the same ring coming in. Everybody wants to come back and do it again, so we're starting off with a solid crew, and then we can just build from there. So I think this time, we're not going to have a lot of the bumps that we had on the last show because, Joe and I were still getting our feet wet with promoting and the posters and the advertising. And this time we also have a partner. So Redwood Acres Fairgrounds is going to be joining in on it. They're going to help us line up sponsors, so we're going to have sponsors to pay for the show this year. It's not going to be out of pocket like this last one was, but so that's always a good thing. Money helps. So we're going to have some sponsors. They're going to help us with advertising. Yeah. Money makes the world go round, man, I tell you.
It does.
by the time the show was over, everything was said and done, we made it back about half of what we put in. And I've been told by a lot of other promoters that if you get about half, that's not bad. It's a somewhat of a success. You didn't lose your shirt. You're not in debt. You know, if you make back about half. So I guess half of what we invested is a good thing. I'm not too sure on how that works in, you know, the promoter world there where, you know, only getting half back of what you put in is a good thing, but I suppose it's better than getting back nothing.
Yeah. I've been on the receiving end of many different returns. None, negative, full, half, a quarter, half, you know, many different returns. So that's definitely good. Yeah. Don't know really what else to add to this segment, Michael.
I don't even really have it a segment. I'm having a good day. I just kind of feel like talking a little bit, you know. I've been looking forward to tonight. You know, glad to have you aboard tonight. You know, there was a little, you know, we were kind of wondering if you're actually going to make the show. Glad to hear that everything went well there in Fort Worth with your family and all that.
Yes.
So all's good.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here. This is I look forward to this every Wednesday.
So do I.
Forward to it every
I don't
Wednesday.
have to deal with my kids.
All right. Well, let's throw something here on the carpet. We've got a big week ahead of us. Before Karl comes on, we need to talk about this weekend in New Orleans. This weekend is the biggest weekend in our business. This weekend and the week of the Cauliflower Alley Convention, the Cauliflower Alley Club Convention, I believe they parallel each other. No, there's not some big stadium show, but the 49th Annual Cauliflower Alley Convention is a huge week in our business. I believe it is on parallel with the Wrestlemania week. There's several different things to do this weekend, and, you know, I am going to read a list. I have a list in front of me. I actually came prepared of everything you can do during WrestleMania week while you're in New Orleans. Of course, Sunday night is WrestleMania.
All right, we're professional tonight.
WrestleMania 30 is this coming Sunday. It is a 2-hour pre-show. The first, both hours will be on the WWE Network. The second hour is exclusive to the WWE Network. The first hour will be available on all other outlets on WWE, such as the YouTube, the Yahoo, the pay-per-view channel, and whatnot. WWE.com as well. The second hour will feature the Fatal 4-Way WWE Tag Team title match. The Usos will be defending against Ryback, Los Matadores, and the Real Americans. Obviously, after that, the 4-hour mega show will take place from the Mercedes-Benz Superdome. We will get into the card a little bit later on. Saturday night is the WWE Hall of Fame induction ceremony. It is taking place at the New Orleans Arena. It will be available for the first time ever in its entirety on the WWE Network. It will begin at 8 p.m. Central, 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific for people in Michael's neck of the woods. And there will be a 1-hour red carpet pre-show on the WWE Network. Fan access will be from Thursday noon to 11 p.m., Friday noon to 11, Saturday 6 a.m. to 11, and Sunday 6 a.m. to 1 p.m. WWE.com has all the what, the who, how, when, and why as far as fan access goes. If you're a New Japan fan and you want to see some New Japan Pro Wrestling, Sunday, April 7th at 2:30 a.m. Eastern, 11:30 p.m. Pacific Time on iPay-per-view on the New Japan Ustream is the New Japan Invasion Attack. Carl Anderson and Doc Gallows, I'm so used to calling him Luke Gallows. Doc Gallows are in action. Rob Conway and Jax Dane representing the National Wrestling Alliance will be there. The Young Bucks will be there, and so much more. Tanahashi and Nakamura for the IC title as well. Thursday night at 2 shows, 6 p.m. and 9 at the House of Blues in New Orleans is an interview with our good buddy Jim Ross. I'm sorry, not an interview. It's ringside, an evening with Jim Ross. Jim Ross has been taking his show all around the nation. I heard it's really good. House of Blues in New Orleans, 6 and 9 p.m. Thursday. Evolve is going to be at the McAllister Auditorium at Tulane University at 8 p.m. on Thursday. Ring of Honor has got a show Friday night at 8 p.m. I believe it's Supercard of Honor, and it's going to be at the John A. Alario Senior Event Center in West Wago, Louisiana. Adam Cole and Jay Briscoe will tie it up in a ladder match for the Ring of Honor title. Kevin Steen's going to battle Michael Elgin, and it looks like some other great a former IHW champion, Jimmy Jacobs, and former IHWE star R.D. Evans will be there as well as ACH, who also wrestled for IHWE. All Day Friday is the Mid-South Wrestling Fan Fest, what we've been promoting for about a month now. That's going to be in Chalmette, Louisiana at the Seeger Center. It starts that morning with a breakfast at 9:30 with Ricky Morton, Robert Gibson, Dennis Condrey, beautiful Bobby Eaton, Jim Cornette, and Bill Watts, along with Bill Dundee. All day there's going to be autograph signings with such stars as Mr. Wrestling 2, Mr. Olympia, Jerry Stubbs, SoCal Val, Dark Journey, Pork Chop Cash, Bushwhacker Luke Williams, Sheep Herder, some people may know him as, IHW Hall of Famer Kamala, Bill Watts. There's going to be a Q&A at 5 p.m. with Watts and Cornette. That is worth the price of admission alone. And then at 7:30 is a Battle Line Supercard. There's going to be a Junkyard Dog Memorial Battle Royal with organizations being represented such as New Japan, House of Hardcore, TCW, IHWE, Elite Championship Wrestling, and more. Angelina Love, Tommy Dreamer, Bill Dundee, Ricky Morton, Robert Gibson, The Pope, Lance Hoyt, and Chris Adonis, who was formerly known as Chris Masters, Tim Storm, IHWE Hall of Famer Al Farrat, IHWE champion Matt Riviera, and IHWE Hall of Famer James Beard will all be in Chalmette, Louisiana, Friday for the Mid-South Fan Fest. Now, on Friday night at 8 p.m. Central, 9 p.m. Eastern live iPay-per-view is going to be the Dragon Gate USA Open the Ultimate Gate at the McAllister Center in Tulane University. Johnny Gargano is going to defend the Open the Dream Gate Championship. I believe it gets Ricochet. Chris Hero against Masato Tanaka for the first time ever. It's a dream match. Low-Key makes a return against Trent Beretta, and so much more. Let me see here. There's going to be WrestleCon. It's all day Saturday at the Sugar Mill, New Orleans. You get to meet Sting, Terry Funk, Kurt Angle, Edge, Scott Hall, Goldberg, Piper, Bret Hart, Bobby Heenan, Mickey James, Kevin Nash, Superfly Jimmy Snuka, Jim the Animal Neidhart, Bully Ray, Matt Stryker, Scott Flash Norton, Too Cool, Scotty Jihadi, and Brian Christopher, Grandmaster Sexay, Velvet Sky, Angelina Love, Lisa Marie Baron, most of you know her as Victoria Ortera. We're going to have a Goldberg Q&A at 1, a Mickey James concert at 2:30, a Marty DeRosa variety show at 7, a live Colt Cabana podcast, a Kevin Steen talk show, and an 8 p.m. card with Luke Hawk, Shane Helms, Cassidy Riley, Steve Carino, Adam Pierce, Sid Vicious, Doug Gilbert, Kevin Steen, Masato Tanaka, Jeff Jarrett, Colt Cabana, Chris Hero, Masada, Christopher Daniels, Frankie Kazarian, and more. Keep checking the line for Carl. It looks like Carl is on the line. I'm going to plug these last two shows. ROH TV tapings on Saturday at 2 o'clock. That's going to be at the Ilario Event Center in West Wago, Louisiana. It looks like the big match is going to be Adam Cole, Matt Hardy, and Michael Bennett against Kevin Steen, Mark and Jay Briscoe in a 6-man tag. And then Saturday at 8 p.m. local, 9 p.m. Eastern, iPay-per-view, Dragon Gate USA Mercury Rising at the McAllister Auditorium at Tulane University. Christopher Daniels and Frankie Kazarian will be wrestling. It will not be on iPay-per-view due to them being under contract with TNA. Johnny Gargano is going to go one-on-one with Low-Key. Chris Hero is going to be there, Masato Tanaka, and so much more. And ladies and gentlemen, that is your lineup. If you're in New Orleans this weekend and you have any questions about where to go, I would check the wrestling sites such as pwinsider.com, wrestlingobserver.com, and I'm sure Bill After is keeping tabs on everything at onewrestling.com. All right, Mike, I've done my thing. I believe our guest is on the line. Take it away.
That was a lot, man. That was a lot of writing. Before we do bring on our guest, though, I want to throw in one thing that you did miss, because I did message the mid-gentleman, said we would push this for him. that at WrestleMania Access, you can go and see one of our past guests, Rob Schamberger. From what I see, he's got a 6-foot by 7-foot canvas that by Sunday will be 30 years of WrestleMania that he will be painting live at Access.
I can't wait to see that. I was going to bring that up later on in the show, but I'm glad you did now because it bears being repeated. Rob Schamberger is a friend of ours. He's done so many great things for so many great causes. He's one of the nicest guys I've ever met. He's so talented, so passionate, and it's WrestleMania's game this year because everybody might be focused on what happens in the Mercedes-Benz Superdome, but WrestleMania gets a big boost this year because they get Rob Schamberger, and it's their pleasure. He would say it's his, but it's equally theirs. Fans, if you've never seen Rob's work, you people coming here from all points of the world, you're going to have an opportunity to see him work live and take home a piece of art. Oh, Rob is the man. All right, Michael, take it away.
All right. We are being joined in the studio right now by the Executive Vice President of the Cauliflower Alley Club. He was on our debut episode back in January. We are happy to welcome him back, Mr. Karl Lauer. Karl, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing good, Michael. How's everything out there in California?
Things are going good in California. Pretty sunny weather. It's been a nice day. As you can see, as far as the radio show goes, I have David to do all my talking for me. I don't have to list any of all of those wrestlers that he mentioned in about a 5-minute span of time. So he makes a good little co-host. I like that.
Like he was vaccinated with a Victrola needle.
That was a lot of talking.
Karl, it's great to have you on, sir. Thank you for joining us.
Oh, my pleasure.
Can I make the announcement now before we start talking, or do I have to wait, Michael?
What announcement?
He needs to wait.
Oh, okay. Well, Karl, I think it's something we discussed, but we're going to make the announcement. But, okay. Michael, you're in charge. You take it away.
Sorry about that, Karl. He's a little excited. He wants to make the announcement, but I want to take the chance to actually, talk with you for a few minutes, because last time you were on here, we talked about CAC and how you can join and all that. We're going to bring that up again, but we didn't really have a chance to talk much about you. And you have had a long career in wrestling. I believe you started back in, what year was that again? I think 1949 or something?
Well, 47 is when I actually kind of got to know the wrestlers, but I didn't really start at, I was a ripe old age of 9, I guess, 9 or 10. And I used to watch the wrestling as a little kid like all the kids did back then because that was about the only show on TV. And I went down to my dad's factory one day after school, and here's all these wrestlers that I seen on TV all working there at my dad's factory during the day. And that's kind of how I became really acquainted with wrestling as a young boy. Guys that were working there during that particular time I was down there was Leo and Gino Garibaldi, Hans Schnabel, a guy called Cliff Olson, Brother Frank Jarvis, Pat Fraley, and the Schnabel brothers. They all during the day they would, our family business was manufacturing commercial refrigeration, big walk-in boxes like you see in flower shops and liquor stores and markets. And during the day, these guys would load the trucks and deliver them, and then the technicians would install them. And it would be a very short day. Maybe they'd start at 10 in the morning and be back at home by 2:30. So they had, and not only was it good pay, it was cheaper than going to the gym. And so that's how I really got involved, knowing the wrestlers. But I actually started. The first time I ever did anything, quote, in the ring was right after I got out of the service around 1963, when Leo Garibaldi talked me into going in there and let someone beat me up for $15.
$15, wow.
He's aged so well. He doesn't look a day over 40.
I'll be 76 come August.
I'd say that's hogwash. If you meet Karl, you think he's 40 years old. I've seen pictures, Karl, so he's aged very well.
Well, I have been very blessed in that respect. Yeah, I haven't aged too bad.
I'll let you in on another little secret here, David. When you see Karl at the Cauliflower Alley reunion, I mean, I've met Karl's wife, lovely lady. But when you see Karl walking around the casino, or he's up in the nostalgia room, or he's downstairs having a coffee, this man always has a beautiful woman with him. Always. I've seen him with IHWE. I've seen him sitting at a table having a couple drinks with the Glow Girls. Karl gets the ladies. It's amazing. I'm a little jealous.
Well, it's a rough job, Michael, but someone has to do it. You know, that's I just kind of donate myself there.
Yeah, that's right. Don't let Morgan handle it. He couldn't handle the ladies and all that. Yeah.
No. That's one part of my job Morgan is not going to get to do. Even though he thinks he is. I mean, I don't know if you were there a year or so ago when we did that little skit, and I made this little skit about seeing this gorgeous lady, you know, and so forth and so on. And I said it was Lisa Moretti, better known to you as IHWE. And then they said, "Well, wow, you really got to kiss her?" And I said, "Well, then I woke up." And so it was you know. And then she was in the audience, and she said, "Let's not make it a dream." And she come rushing up on stage, and Morgan has never forgiven me for that.
I'm surprised you didn't try to run in and steal your heat, Karl. It sounds like something Morgan would try to do, try to run in and steal your heat.
Yeah, well, what can I say? But we have had some really. I've had, when I was promoting, many of the ladies used to call up and want to work for us because I always treated them with the same respect as the men. They always got equal or as good a pay, sometimes better pay, because they were an attraction, and I always treated them with respect. And that's one reason that I think so many of the ladies always wanted to work for any of my promotions, because they didn't have to worry about, as little Cheryl Russo said when they roasted me, they said, one of the reasons all the ladies want to work for Karl is we don't have to audition on the couch.
Right. Well, you know, you bring up an interesting point about the ladies, and over the years, I mean, some people may not remember Penny Banner, or you know, everybody remembers Moolah and Mae Young, and they were blessings to the business. Leilani Kai, Judy Martin. Has a promoter and has a gentleman and an individual that has seen so many eras pass through in professional wrestling. You got familiar with the business in the late 40s into the 50s during what people say is the golden era, with the George Wagners and the television and pro wrestling just kind of coming together. Over the years, we've seen many different many different eras, equally for women's wrestling that we have for the men. So I got a question. You know, the Glow Gorgeous Ladies of Wrestling. I was a kid when this came on, but I would watch it because it would usually come on down here in Texas. It was syndicated, and it would come on before WWF Superstars. Well, WWF Superstars was pretty much the only way I could watch Vince McMahon's product every week. So Glow would come on before, and I was entertained by Glow, but I really didn't know the full story until that documentary came out. And they're so good ladies, and I mean, you know, the misfortunes that Mount Fiji's going through at the moment, and then you got Big Bad Mama, who unfortunately passed away after the documentary came out. I know the Glow ladies have been a part of the CAC in the past. Okay, as a gentleman and an individual and a pioneer in the wrestling business such as yourself, what do you think about, what does Glow mean to you? I mean, you know, what do you think when you think of Gorgeous Ladies of Wrestling? Because there's been so many differing opinions over the years, and I would like to know what a man who has so many years in the business such as yourself thinks. What do you think of when you hear the letters Glow Gorgeous Ladies of Wrestling?
Well, it was strictly, to start with, it started out to be, quote, a novelty-type show because of the characters that they portrayed. But the thing you got to bear in mind, every one of them gals went through the same pretty rigorous training school. Most of them were trained by Mondo Guerrero,
right.
Rick Grayson, some of the top guys in California. These gals were trained to be pro wrestlers first, and then the theatrics came Lisa Moretti is probably the best example of them all. I mean, not only did she do the Glow thing, but she went on to become one of the longest reigning WWF champions. I guess it was WWF back then. I'm not positive.
Right.
It changed. But she's the one that actually went over China, defeated the gal that they thought would never get beat in the ring as far as the public was concerned. An outstanding athlete. And one of the gals we're honoring this year at the CAC, Debbie Pelletier, better known with us as the Killer Tomato, with Glow as Debbie Dallas. But this gal could wrestle with the best of them. For me, she wrestled people like Wendy Richter, Candy Divine, many of the top gals when they'd come to California. Debbie was my champion, and she held that title for about 3.5 years. And she was always a major attraction, and a very talented young lady wrestler. So I looked at it as the comical part, the theatrical part that they insisted on doing. But at the same time, I realized they went through the same training that they could get in there and work with any of the girls today or yesteryear.
Right, and one more thing I'll add to this. They had an impact on pop culture that I think many people overlook. I mean, they were, they had the Glow songs, and they had they would have these ridiculous songs, but, and I know Jimmy Hart tried to mimic that when he opened up his little wrestling group with the girls. But, I mean, it just had to be in the 80s because everything in the 80s was so over the top. But, I mean, when I turn on Married with Children, which was the hottest television show on the air at the time, and you got Al Bundy, who's probably the hottest thing on television because of his character, and he's in the ring with Big Bad Mama. I mean, that's, that's pop culture, and that will always be there. Big Bad Mama will always be remembered for that, if anything, for that moment. So I think Glow had a huge impact on the 1980s pop culture, and I think anybody who doesn't know the story, you need to check out that documentary. Whoever put it together did a hell of a job. And I mean, Karl,
it's very well put together. The girl sent me a copy of it, and I have a copy of it. And many of them gals, like I said earlier, they are good formidable wrestlers. But you got to remember, when they came out, that was the biggest downside of pro wrestling. People, my promotion, which started in '79, and we were going fairly good, but that 79 to 83 things were really, they were going down. Everybody's crowds was way down. The people were there. It just ran its gamut, so to speak. And then Vince came in, I believe, '83, and wrestling was just beginning to make it back. So the timing for Glow was perfect. The wrestling fans still wanted some wrestling, but they were tired of the old product. I would never have been tired. To me, I'm strictly old school. I think we should have. My slogan of my last promotion, which was at that time World Legion Wrestling, today it's World League Wrestling, owned by Harley Race, but our slogan was "Shut up and wrestle." We never allowed any of the wrestlers to use the microphone other than the featured event. And in all my years I promoted, I never allowed the wrestlers to grab the microphone unless there was a good reason for it. But to me, I respect the wrestlers of today because I think they're in better shape. They're fantastic athletes, and they do things with their bodies that I would never have done. But I wish they would do 80% wrestling and 20% talking. And right now we have 80% talking and 20% wrestling. And
you make a valid point. I was Mike. I'll say this, and then I'll hand it back over to you. I was broken in by Johnny Valentine. So I was that old school mentality was drilled into me.
Johnny was one of my close friends, and we were friends for 30 years. Yeah,
he always spoke very highly of the Cauliflower Alley Club, but he would when I first met him, I was intimidated because I just heard stories about this guy, and he still talked about. He always will be, but his thing with me was, put a headlock on, and the only way you let go of it is if he gets out of it. You don't go to the top rope.
That's right.
He was, he would. I got to watch a few of his matches. There's not many out there, and I got to see him and Wahoo, and they beat the stuffing out of each other. But Johnny, along with you, Karl, and guys like Lou Says, and I'm sure Bockwinkel's the same way. You know, old school, and I have nothing but respect for what you guys did, because going in there for an hour, 90 minutes, and beating, you know, not making it look like a work, but just making it look being real, making it look real, because that was the livelihood. That was the way you drew money in the next town, and that was the only way to feed your family. So it wasn't just a hobby; it was the way of life.
Oh yeah, back then too, in them areas, there was nowhere near as many wrestlers. No such thing as a little independent circuit. You know, there might have been a few rogue organizations that tried to start up, but generally the wrestlers back then, they would, as we used to say, homestead. They would come to a territory knowing they were going to be there for 1, maybe 2, sometime. Well, look at Nick Bockwinkel, 15 years in Minnesota. You know, Baron Leone, over 20 years in Los Angeles, never had to leave, never lost his popularity. You know, so it was able to have a day job if you wanted it, and most of the boys did, as they do today. All your independent guys have regular jobs and are lucky to work 2 times a month today, unless you're one of the federations. And the thing that I point out, and I've pointed it out before on other shows, the wrestlers today, like WWE and TNA and these guys, they are capable of having a good, sound, solid wrestling match. They have been trained properly. Unfortunately, the fans today want high spot, all this here crazy stuff, and the fans don't seem to understand what a wrestling thing is. I've been to, you know, I'm commissioner for the state of Missouri for boxing and wrestling and martial arts, and I've seen guys go in there and try to hold a fairly decent wrestling match, and the fans boo them.
Right.
Hold a hold for 5 minutes, they get bored. Their attention span is so little and so well differently trained because of the TV today. If someone isn't flying through the air or beating the heck out of somebody, they don't know. They're bored. You know, it's
it seems to me
what the fans want, I guess.
Well, it seems to me, Michael, one more point, I'm sorry. It seems to me that in Japan, and maybe it's just for certain organizations, in Japan it's a little bit different. It seems like they still respect the psychology, they still respect the battle more than the entertainment, more than they respect the more what they get into the ring as opposed to how they get to that match. It seems like they pop big still for certain moves. They you know, if you watch a Japanese match, the crowd is entirely different. I mean, you take a guy like Stan Hansen, who was one of the greatest draws over there ever, especially as a gaijin. You know, Hansen never did any high spots. He was just brute force. He knew how to work. But in Japan, it just seems like it's the opposite. I mean, it might have changed. I haven't seen any Japanese wrestling in a while. And Carl, you may be able to shed more light on this. It seems still over there, they still respect wrestling and psychology more than here.
Well, it's still over there is classified as one of the major events. You know, it's wrestling in Japan still is second only to baseball.
Right.
And so the fans look at it, and even in Mexico, they still look at the wrestlers in Mexico, the bulk of them, as being major celebrities and athletes. I mean, look at Mil Mascaras. Mil, I won't tell you how old he really is, but I know how old he really is, and we've been friends for more years than either one of us want to admit. But here's a man who still wrestles. He still goes to Japan.
4 decades. 4 decades drawing money.
Well, actually, a little bit more than that. I think
a little bit more than that. There you go.
60s. So
yeah, see,
60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, 2010, and now he's in his 7th decade.
Wow, over 4 decades. That's amazing.
And he still can get in there, and he can still hold a good match. He doesn't do some of the aerial moves, but I still see him go to the top rope. Whenever he's in Missouri, we usually try to get together. And but there's a case of a man who is a phenomenal athlete, and always has been.
Right.
You know, and most of the guys, wrestlers today, they respect the fact that him and the Destroyer, these guys have maintained the total dignity of the business.
Right.
I don't think there's 200 people that have ever seen Mil without his mask.
Well, totally. I agree. Michael, I've stepped on your toes for the last 30 minutes. Go ahead, brother.
It's all right, man. You've been.
He went to sleep.
My job's easy. My job's easy tonight.
Mike, you had some other questions you wanted to ask me.
Well, I had a few things I wanted to ask you, because you were bringing up, there's a lot of talking in wrestling now and all that, and I was just going to throw in some. A couple years ago, we went to down to San Jose. They were doing the live Raw. It was right before SummerSlam, and it was the John Cena CM Punk SummerSlam match, and they were setting up for that. And unfortunately, the main event, per se, of their show was a contract signing. So we paid money. We went down to, San Jose and all that, drove all the way down. That's like a 5.5-hour drive. And the last 20, 30 minutes of the show was the two guys sitting at a table with their microphones talking. And I love the wrestling nowadays. I watch Raw every Monday night. I watch SmackDown. My son watches it with me. 3 years old. He loves the stuff now. But you can't have 30 minutes of talking. I mean, you go to an indie show and they do a lot of talking also. So I can definitely see what you're saying.
Some of them do. Some of them will. I mean, I use for an example, and I might get criticized for this, but I've watched TNA on TV, and I don't enjoy it. To me, it's just a mini copycat of what WWE is, which I think is one of their main mistakes. They're trying to duplicate the big guys. But I've done their shows, 3 shows with them in a row, and each show, if I had to scale it on a 1 to 10, would hit a 10 or a 12. Their in-house, in-person shows are outstanding because the guys are allowed to get in there and actually put on a show.
Right.
TV, to me, I don't watch much wrestling on TV anymore because, to me, most of it today is an infomercial for the next pay-per-view.
Right.
And I just don't have that much time to sit and watch a 2 or 3 hour show and see 30 minutes of wrestling in that period of time.
And you're not going to buy the pay-per-view, so you don't need to see the infomercial.
In my case, that's true. I've never bought a pay-per-view, but
right.
But to me, but the fans seem to like it. I mean, I've done a couple of Raw shows for the state of Missouri, and generally the in-person show, when you go see them live and in person, is an enjoyable evening. The fans come out of there very, very happy. But I'm amazed how the TV show is able to attract them if they're looking at the TV show to be what they're expected to be in person, because the in-person show is superior compared to what you see on TV.
Oh, for sure.
And most of these guys, they can wrestle. I mean, you take Randy Orton, for example. He's 3rd generation. He could right now, if he had to, he could probably go to a 1 hour or 1 and 2 hour Broadway with another workable guy and have you fully convinced that he's an Olympic wrestler.
Right.
I mean, these kids are that good. They just are not given the opportunity, nor do the fans want to see that. And Vince is a fantastic promoter and businessman. He gives the fans what his demographics tell them they want. And so you can't knock success.
I've heard, Carl, and this is I want to say something. I want to ask a question. I've heard that a lot of times the shows get rewritten. Of course, I hear this, so it might be hearsay, it might be paraphrasing. The shows get rewritten so much that the talent gets there at 12 o'clock, they get told one thing at 2 o'clock, and then at 4 o'clock they get told another thing, 6 o'clock, and then sometimes right before the curtain, their segment or match gets axed in half, or they get told something totally different. It's really hard for the talent to, prepare for anything when you're told 5 different things in a television in one day, and then you get up to gorilla position and you planned a 15-minute match and it got knocked down to 4 minutes.
Yeah, well, and sometimes that's the case because it's all based upon the TV time and how many people you want to showcase. But I mean, even I myself, when I first started promoting in 1979, Gory Guerrero was my partner. There is Eddie's dad and Mondo and Hector and Chavo's dad. And Gory told me, he says, 3 things you got to learn. Because Gory was the brains. I mean, I had not the slightest idea what to do about promoting wrestling. I knew it. I understood it. It was, as they say, a term I hate. I was smart, as the fans want to say. But I didn't understand the thing of wrestling. And Gory told me three things. He says, first of all, he says, you got to realize that nobody is coming to see the promoter. Nobody is coming to see the referee. And every match has got to appear to be a contest. And that's the way we ran our shows. When Gory became ill and moved back to El Paso, the one thing I developed in my own style, every wrestler, every match was told, here, this is the way it's going to happen, this is what I want to happen, but if you see me at ringside, reverse the finish. And I never watched the match. I only watched the fans. And when I saw the reaction to the fans, and say I had Mike going over you, and I saw that to beat you would be a huge mistake, in my opinion, the way the fans were perceiving you, I went and sat at ringside, and as soon as the referee called me, he said, okay, the boss wants to reverse it. Dave, you're going over. And we always had two finishes in every match, but that's the only change we made. And then for TV, you have to have strict control. And minutes are dollars. And so if a man is told this is a 12-minute match, when the referee at 11 minutes got the signal, it better happen in that 12-minute mark. I only allowed a 20-second plus or minus without a penalty and pay. Because TV back then was costly, was very costly.
Oh yeah, especially
and it's very costly for Vince now. But he owns everything. You know, I did it.
Right.
I was sort of say a contract player with the TV station.
Right. Michael, I know you wanted to talk more about Karl's past, and I've kind of been trampling over you, so go right ahead.
That's all right. I do want to tell you one thing, though, David. Don't get a swelled head there. If you and I were to go at it, I would go over. You know, just letting you know. Don't let Karl build you up, make you think, ooh, you know. No.
Hey, do you remember when they put the little 1, 2, 3 kid over Razor Ramon and shocked 2/3 of the world?
I watched that live that night.
I mean, even I would have lost that one. Michael, what's your question? Go ahead, buddy.
Well, Karl, we were talking earlier today, kind of going over some things on it, and you started promoting in 1979.
1979, yes.
1979, and that was in the Olympic. And
we started out. Gory and I took a lease on a theater called the Strand Theater in San Pedro, California. It was an old movie house where the sailors used to go, and we converted that to an arena. We built the stage to be equal with the mat, the ring to be equal with the stage. We put extreme VIP seatings on the stage so you were level with the ring. And then the theater was regular movie theater seating, and that was when we started, and that's where we actually started. I didn't take over the Olympic Auditorium until 1983. Prior to that, we ran San Pedro, and we ran Santa Ana. We were San Pedro on Thursday, Santa Ana on Friday, Tuesday Oceanside, and Wednesday Oxnard. So we ran 4 shows a week for almost about 5 years in total. Gory was with me from 79, I believe, until 82, when he began to get ill and really missed his home of El Paso. And that's when him and Linda moved back to El Paso.
Okay.
And so the Olympic...
Huh? Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Well, when I got the Olympic Auditorium, it was predominantly a lucha libre, Mexican wrestler. That's when I got the contract with the AAA to be the American or the West Coast California promoter for all the real, as I hate to use the term the real Mexicans, but when I say real Mexicans, I'm talking about the luchadors from Mexico. You know, our first show had Hijo El Santo on it, Blue Demon, Black Shadow, the Porkies, the Brazos. I mean, the guys that the Mexican people in the States could read about in their home magazines. And we actually brought them in. We invested quite a lot of large money just in visas to do that first show. Everybody said I was absolutely crazy to spend over $20,000 in visas for a year. But it definitely paid off, because that year we had 7 or 8 the first year, $100,000 gates.
Wow. Now, when we were talking, also, I was asking, if you could share some stories on it, and you brought up one that you said you were going to share tonight, and I happened to mention it to David. So, as a favor, I want to do this for him later. You said you had a story about when you first met Andre. Now, I know David is a huge fan of Andre, as well as a lot of people are. I mean, Andre the Giant's one of those, he's a legend in the sport of wrestling and all that. But if you could share that story, because I know David's kind of chomping at the bit. He's wanting to hear this, and then he's also wanting to make the big announcement, so we're going to work with him a little bit.
Okay, well, the very first time Andre ever worked for us was in Santa Ana, California, at the Palacio Azteca. That was named the little arena we had. And Andre used to require, besides his guarantee pay, a case of Heineken beer. And I went down to see him and introduced myself, and he was very cordial. And I said, "Can I have one of the beers?" He said, "No." I said, "Well, heck, I bought them." He said, "I don't care." I said, "My deal is a case of beer, right?" I said, "Yes, sir." And he said, "Well, then you don't get none," in his broken English. And so we visited a little while, and we talked a little bit going on. He was in a handicap match that night with Gordman and Goliath. He had a pretty good match. He always put on a good show. And he called me back to the dressing room, and he says, "Can you find me a fish?" And I said, "I'm not really sure what you mean by a fish. I mean, they have fish tacos and stuff here." Because he said, no, a fish. He said, "What, are you stupid or something?" He didn't say it that way, but and I said, "Well, what do you mean by fish?" He said, "There must be some fans out there that would like to take Andre to dinner." I said, "Well, yeah, I'm sure they would." So I went up and I found this man and his wife and their 2 kids. And I said, "Andre the Giant was very impressed with the way you cheered him on and all that, and he would like to meet you." Well, they naturally got very excited, so I took them down to the dressing room. We had a private area there. Andre was gracious with him, took pictures with him and all that. And then Andre come up, I guess one of his famous lines, he said, "I don't know my way around here, and wrestlers, we don't eat before wrestling. Would you like to take Andre out to dinner?" Well, naturally, they got flabbergasted, excited, and then Andre said, "Then because I will miss my ride, will you take me to my hotel," which was way in Santa Monica. If you know it, from Santa Ana to Santa Monica is a pretty long drive. But anyway, the next week, these people came back, and the father, they come every week, come back, and he says, "You won't believe how much I spent for dinner." I said, "How much did you spend for?" He says, $400. And I said, "What did you buy?" He said, "What didn't he eat?" And he said, "I'm not complaining. I'm not mad at you. I'm just telling you, my kids will never ever forget the time that man spent with us. He was gracious. He took pictures, but every time I turned around, he was ordering more different food." And I said, "Did he drink a lot?" He said, No, he didn't drink nothing. Not while he was with us. But we dropped him off about a block from the hotel at a bar." Now,
Lord knows what the tab was.
$400 what this guy spent feeding Andre. Well, he fed his own family too, but what could they eat? What could 2 kids, the man and his wife, eat?
I'll still say Andre, he's the reason I started watching wrestling, and I think Andre...
Great guy. Another quick story. We had a show where he was going to be in a handicap match, and I think he was going to work against the Hoods, which was Johnny Mantell and Ron Starr. And we advertised, and we had 26 people show up for the show. 26. I never had a crowd like that in my life. That was lousy. And what it turned out, the reason that we had such a lousy crowd, that was the makeup night for the Los Angeles World Series in Los Angeles, and wrestling fans are as big as baseball fans, and if the World Series is going on, they were not about to miss that World Series game.
Right.
And my deal with Andre was $1,000 or 8% of the gate is what I paid him every time he wrestled for me. And I went down there, and he said, "Hey, boss," he said, "you lose a lot of money tonight, right?" I said, "Yeah." He says, "Bring me another case of beer, forget the money."
Wow. What year was that?
Oh, good golly, 82, 83, somewhere in that area. I'd have to look at all. I don't even have half my pay stubs anymore. Fans have been buying them.
But still, that was
January.
Yeah, but I mean, it was one of those years Andre was put in the Guinness Book of World Records for being the highest paid professional wrestler in the business. This is before Hogan, Hulkamania ran wild. So that,
Andre probably worked 6 nights a week, and if his guarantee was $1,000 or 8% of the gate, when he would work the Olympic Auditorium, he got considerably more than $1,000. I mean, even if we had a $60,000 or $70,000 gate, what's 8% of that? That's $4,800. So he was always paid well. I think that's one reason. Plus, he liked me. I always treated him with respect, and I never expected him to do anything stupid. We just had a great repertoire. We got him every year, if I remember right, from 1980 till about 85 or 86, every January, because Mike LaBelle, who was the main promoter for the Olympic in Los Angeles, would always open the year up with the 20-man battle royal at the Olympic Auditorium.
Right.
That was the big thing every year. And Andre generally was in there, or he came in for that first week, because most of the guys are coming back from Japan. That's the only time Bruno Sammartino
because the Dome Show was at the beginning of January every year. Right, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Right, that makes sense.
See,
that's
so
awesome.
they would come through L.A. and a lot of the guys would call in, and I was always I ran right up through 10 days before Christmas, and then we would close down, but we'd always open up 2 or 3 days before New Year's, depending on when day the holiday came on, naturally. But we had a contract with our buildings, and so we had to run. I mean, or we paid the rent anyway because it was an annual deal.
Right.
And same thing with the Olympic Auditorium. I mean, I had a contract every 2 weeks to run every other Friday, period, or pay the rent.
Right.
And so we never canceled shows.
Well, that was very cool. I mean, Andre was big then, both literally and figuratively as a draw. And I mean, that's awesome that he did that for you. That's great. Yeah, Andre, one of the greatest draws of all time. Period.
And Andre worked many small spots too. I mean, when he came to California for Mike LaBelle, I don't know what deal Mike LaBelle had with him. I'm sure Mike had just a flat figure for X number of dollars for the 2 weeks he was there. But he worked the San Bernardino Arena, which is a very small building. When I say small, capacity is 1,841 people, because I use that for all my television tapings, was taped there. So that's considered a small venue. And he worked the El Monte Legion Stadium, which would probably seat 2,000 people, 2,200. But they all looked forward. All the rest would be willing to work the smaller buildings because they knew they were going to get to work the Olympic on Fridays.
Right.
And the Olympic was always a big gate for whoever did it. Mike LaBelle, I know, had many 10,400-seat sellouts. Freddie Blass probably sold the building out as much or more than anybody else, and same with Buddy Austin. And the biggest thing was Blassie and Tolis. And I mean, these were huge events. So a wrestler coming to L.A., plus they didn't have to do much traveling. If they weren't living in California, they'd stay at the Cecil Hotel downtown L.A., which is at 5th and Hill, and the Olympic Auditorium is 18th and Grand, so it's 13 blocks away. They could drive to Santa Ana in less than 40 minutes, drive to San Diego in an hour and a half, Pasadena in 25 minutes. I mean, it was like, not what they were used to. They're used to traveling all night long and getting to another town and struggling. And here, I mean, it was fantastic because they could bring their families in. They could rent apartments. Mike LaBelle had apartments that they could rent till he brought them in, like Adrian Street started there. When Adrian came in, and he for about a year and a half.
I got a question real quick, Carl, and then I know Michael wants to talk about the CAC. When they did the big pay-per-view, Inoki versus Ali, Hansen, San Martino, Andre versus Chuck Wetner, were you involved in that at all, or did you promote your?
No, I was not. That was Mike LaBelle, who was Gene LaBelle's brother, and Gene LaBelle was the referee for that big fight.
Right, that's right, yeah.
Muhammad Ali and Inoki, and
Inoki.
Gene LaBelle was the referee. No, Mike LaBelle had the franchise for the pay-per-view, and it wasn't pay-per-view, it was close. Well, it was like closed circuit.
Closed circuit,
and he had it not only at the Olympic Auditorium, he had it at 2 or 3 theaters in L.A. They had it at the Hollywood Palladium. They had it someplace in Long Beach. He probably had at least 10 locations that you could go and watch that closed circuit television thing, and pay to see it. Mike Rubel made a lot of money on that event, I'll guarantee you. But I was not involved in that in any way.
Okay. All right, Michael, let's talk about it.
It's driving you crazy, man. I'm right here. I've been listening. He's, like I said, I let David kind of roll with it sometimes. He gets a little excited. But one little quick note.
I get a little excited because I'm on the phone with a guy with so many years in this business. I'm a promoter. I'm nowhere near what Karl did. I love hearing stories because you learn, and I'm a big fan of history, and so it's really cool getting to hear. So that's why I get excited. When a guy like Karl's on, I get excited. I'm sorry.
Oh, I agree. I love hearing all these stories on it. And on a little bit of a side note, we're talking about Andre here. Andre actually appeared in Eureka, my neck of the woods, a few times back in, I believe it was in the 70s. He came up with Roy Shires with Big Time Wrestling. They brought him up here. He actually was the main event at the Eureka Municipal Auditorium at least once or twice. I mean, I've seen the posters. I know people who have gone to see it. So, I mean, Andre went everywhere. And as far as small crowds and all that goes, the Eureka Municipal Auditorium is not that big of a building.
Yeah, he always preferred to work. I know he had called before, and I'd say, well, Andre, I can't afford you at such a venue, not with the $1,000 guarantee. He said, hey, either I work for you, and I know you'll treat me fair based on the gate, or I sit in a lousy hotel waiting for the plane. So he was always very congenial, willing to work even for the little guys.
That's awesome.
Now, did Andre ever appear? Did Andre ever come to any of the reunions back when they were in Studio City, the smaller ones?
No, not to my knowledge. If he did, it would have been prior to '79. I actually joined the CAC in 1979. And if he did, it would have been prior from between 65 and 79. And so I don't know. I understand he was a member because I saw an old application which disappeared when Art Abrams passed away, but it was under his real name, Andre Rasmussen, if I remember right.
Rusimov, yeah.
Yeah, I could say Rusimov. But so he had joined the club somewhere probably in the early or mid-'70s, but whether it was a complimentary membership or what, but we did have a folder on it, and when Art Abrams, where all the CAC records were kept, died, and everything was transferred here to Missouri, an awful lot of our memorabilia just disappeared.
What I respect most about Andre is the fact that for so many years his matches declined. He could barely move, but he still wanted to do this, even in his last days. He went to Japan. He did those matches with Baba. He went to Mexico. He did these tag matches. He went out there because people still wanted to see Andre the Giant, and he wanted to give some talents the rub. And, people are like, oh, he should have gotten out. I don't care what anybody says. I don't care how slow he moved. I love that guy.
He went through a period of time where he went to work for that Herb Abrams, too.
Oh, that's right, the UWF. That's right.
Yeah,
not Bill Watts'.
Not Bill Watts'. Herb Abrams, the guy that lost about $7 million in overdose because he was a smarter trying to put himself over more than anybody. And John Tolis used to work for me. John went to work for a while, and he called me up from New York. He said, you ain't going to believe what this guy wants to do. And I said, what are you talking about? He says, he's the promoter. He wants to be at the commentary with me for all the shows, and now he wants to juice. He wants to bleed.
Oh, no.
And I said, well, so let him bleed the hard way. That's stupid. I mean, nobody gives a darn about watching a promoter bleed. And so John told us, I forget who it was. It was either could have been one Blair or Brian Blair, or it could have been Paul Orndorff, one of them guys. Anyway, this guy wanted to bleed, and so I guess they did it to the poor guy the hard way because it served him right because he was a. Well, I don't talk bad about anybody. His life's too short for that, but he did not do a lot of good for the wrestling business, except for the wrestlers. I mean, he paid them more than anybody else was willing to pay him. He went through like $7 million in 2 years.
Yeah, I picked up a few of those tapes, those 30-minute ones, and he had his big program was Dr. Death and Paul Orndorff. He had Bam Bam Bigelow. He was using a lot of the guys.
Went to work for him. I mean,
right.
You would go to work for him. You'd go work for him if a guy said, hey, I want you to work for me. I'll give you $1,000 for a match.
Oh, of course.
100.
You'd
if
be
your normal
stupid
pay
not
was
to.
100 and someone offers you 1,000, you're going to do it.
Right,
he
right.
just paid these guys unbelievable pay, and they gave him good shows. They put on good shows for him, but if he would have just kept his mouth shut and let the wrestlers do the wrestling, let the booker do the booking.
Right. Who was his booker? Was it Tolos?
No, his booker was Albano, Lou Albano.
Oh, okay. I've always wondered that. Okay.
Yeah, he had Andre. He had Andre there with him for a year or two.
Bruno. He had Bruno too.
And Brian Blair and
Bruno was on commentary. Bruno was on commentary for a couple of shows.
But he paid these guys such huge money that no one's going to turn them down.
No. Did you ever see that, Mike? Did you ever see Herb Abrams, UWF? He had one cage called the Steel Cage and one of the Lumberjacks. And
he was in so much trouble.
Yeah, they ran it on Bay Area Sports Channel up here, so I actually did get to watch that.
Yeah, he had a pay-per-view out of Las Vegas and
Beach Brawl.
Beach Brawl, yeah.
Beach Brawl.
Never paid the hookup or nothing. I mean, he was in such bad vibes that he ended up dying. They found him dead in his hotel room, overdosed on drugs.
Yeah, I heard he was running around up and down the street in his underwear, and I mean, it was just a weird, weird stuff. I read it in the PWI Almanac after it happened, and it was a crazy end to a weird guy. He was definitely eccentric. So,
well, the sad part about it is that he was an extremely good businessman.
Right.
But not in wrestling. He was someone living out, I guess, a childhood dream because he owned the Big and Tall men's stores. And
wow!
He was a very
didn't know
successful businessman. Yeah, he was not just some dummy that come off the street. He was a good, successful businessman. And he understood business and the color of ink and the bottom line. But unfortunately, he wanted to be part of the show. And like
a star.
Said, nobody pays to see the promoter. They could care less.
He wanted to be a star. Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. All right, Michael.
Well, it's like I was told one time a few years back, actually one of the reunions, I can't remember who I was speaking to at the time, but they actually gave me a piece of advice was that if you want to make a small fortune in wrestling, you want to start off with a big fortune, which is kind of what it sounds like Herb Abrams did. He started off with a large amount of money and ended up with very small amount. So,
8 out of 10 promoters fail within the first 2 years, because they're not willing to listen to someone that knows what they're doing, or the second big mistake, they allow the wrestlers to run the show.
Yep.
And
I will speak from my own personal experience. Joe, Susan, and I, we co-promoted a show here in Eureka just a couple weeks ago. And I saw a whole different side of the business and all that, and it's tough. It wasn't something I wanted to do again because there's just a lot of, with the advertising and everything else, but we actually went and got a booker that helped us out. He owns one of the owners of DOA Wrestling out of Oregon and all that, so he was used to it. We went the smart route and got someone to kind of help us out a little bit, and we actually ended up putting on a fairly decent show. But it was a side of the business that I personally don't see how anybody would want to do this for a living. I mean, we're going to do it maybe once a year.
It's the fact that you have to, first of all, have the respect of the talent, and second of all, the talent has got to realize that you are the boss. And I learned all my booking and everything about wrestling from two of the greatest guys in the world, not only Goy Guerrero, but my closest friend for over 50 years, Leo Garibaldi. We were extremely close friends, and Leo was really my booker behind the scenes. Even though Leo very rarely would actually come to the dressing room, Victor Rivera was that booker as far as the talent was concerned. But Victor got his instructions from Leo, and Leo would run it by me, and I'd say, "That's great," or maybe make a little change here because I'm not going to keep this guy. I don't like him. I like his work, but I don't like him. And I never kept a wrestler working for me that I couldn't respect out of the ring. Life is too short to put up with an egomaniac.
Yep.
And so that was basically my policy. But I treated the wrestlers well. They always got paid. They got paid what they were expecting, and usually a little bit more if the gate was there. But at the same token, I did not want to listen to arguments. I don't care if your girlfriend's in the audience. I don't care if mom and dad don't want to see you lose. This is the way.
Right.
This is the way life is.
It's
a business, and that's the way I always ran my business. And the wrestlers respected it. I never asked anybody to do anything that they didn't feel they could do comfortably.
Right.
And if they didn't feel they could do it comfortably, then I said, all right, you're excused. Don't worry about it. See you next show.
Right.
But I never allowed the wrestlers to tell me what they could do and what they wouldn't do.
Exactly.
I learned that very early. Leo said that you have to be that way.
Right.
Go ahead. What's the next
Carl,
question?
Well, not really a question, just a statement here. I see you every year at the Cauliflower reunions, and a couple of years ago they did the roast of Karl. They were supposed to have roasted you. I don't think there was
they
one
were too
person
easy. I looked so bad. I'd only been out of the open heart surgery 6 weeks before that. I was down to 152 pounds, and all the guys that were going to roast me, they backed out of it. They got other people up there. Terry Funk said, "Ain't no way I'm going to go up there and have a damn heart attack on me if I say what I was going to say about you."
Oh, so that explains it.
Yeah,
I was going to say there wasn't one person.
Everybody was so gentle, and the greatest guy I ever worked for, just Mr. Nice Guy. And little Cheryl Roos got up there and said he's the greatest promoter. Every girl wanted to work for him because he was treated so good. And and they just talked about all nice stuff about me. And I remember Buddha showed me his original script. He was going to start out saying Lauer. No wonder he's rich. He kept all my money, never paid me. I never liked him anyway.
That's funny.
Well, I'm going to take back what I said then. I thought that it was just that nobody had a bad thing to say about you, Karl.
Well,
I know I enjoy it.
In the roast, even if they don't have a bad thing, they got to at least make it up.
Right.
They're supposed to pick on you,
Right.
And they had all kinds of funny things that they were going to say, but they all. I did look bad. I see pictures of myself, and I said, "Gee, I do. I'm down to 152 pounds, and it was only 6 weeks since I had an open heart surgery. In fact, the heart doctor was there at the banquet to make sure I didn't collapse or something. Flew all the way up from St. Louis just to keep an eye on me.
But you were there, so that shows some dedication and all that. And I know I enjoy seeing you every year. I look forward to even having just a minute to talk with you. But now that we've kind of got it back onto the CAC for a minute, there is an announcement that David's been chomping at the bit to make. So, we've talked to you about it. I hope
it's a true announcement.
This is a good announcement. This is a great announcement.
Yeah.
Talked with Morgan about it a little bit ago, a couple days ago, so got him on board. But, David, now's the time. We've let the fans wait. Go ahead. Let's hear this major announcement. Let's get it on.
All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I'm proud to announce that IHWE Radio is going to be doing a simulcast from the Cauliflower Alley Convention, back-to-back nights, Tuesday night. I need to get is it June 3rd? Let me get
Yep, June
3rd and June 4th.
June 3rd and June 4th. Back-to-back nights, special Tuesday night at 6 p.m. Central Time, and Wednesday night at 6 p.m. Central Time, 4 p.m. Pacific. Now, let me explain how this is going to work. This is going to be a simulcast. We will be hosting the show, bringing you the show from headquarters here in Fort Worth, Texas. Michael is going to be in Las Vegas at the Cauliflower Alley Club, and he will be calling in with interviews, with comments, with happenings. He'll be calling in throughout the show, both nights, to let us know what's going on in Las Vegas. This is a huge weekend. We are so proud to be a part of it. Not only will we be having a back-to-back simulcast from the 49th annual CAC, we will be having a countdown to the CAC starting in May. every week we're going to be having some sort of CAC discussion or someone affiliated with the Cauliflower Alley Club, either on the board or as an honoree, we're going to have leading up to. And the week before the Cauliflower Alley Club convention, I believe it's Wednesday, May 28th. I'm looking at a calendar. The entire show will be dedicated to the Cauliflower Alley Club reunion. And we're going to line up members like Morgan, like Carl. We're hopefully going to get some honorees on here. Some people
I'll make sure you get most of the honorees that are in town. Most of them are coming in Monday, and several of the WWE guys, Terry Taylor and them guys, I believe, are coming in Sunday already to see the show, because we have a show Sunday and Monday night.
Right.
And I'll make sure I get your Rock Riddle on there. He's hilarious on the radio, and get you Debbie Pelletier, Killer Tomato. She does a great interview and a lot of fun. And if Mike plays his card right, I'll get him a hug.
Well, we're going to have, so ladies and gentlemen, so keep the dates. Every show leading up in May, we'll have somebody on. May 28th, the whole show will be dedicated to getting everybody ready for the following week in Las Vegas. And then Tuesday night the 3rd, Wednesday night the 4th, both nights, back-to-back. We'll be live here in Fort Worth, and Michael will be live in Las Vegas at the Cauliflower Alley Convention, and he'll be between 4 and 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. He'll be running around talking to anybody and everybody that wants to sit down with us. We'll be having pre-taped interviews, and we'll be having live call-ins from the Cauliflower Alley Club. This is huge for us, and it's all thanks to Carl and Morgan and the people at the CAC for the wonderful relationship they have with us. Carl, I really appreciate it. It's going to be a lot of fun. I have a show that weekend. I'm going to be down here tying up loose ends to make sure that we got a packed house the following Saturday here in Fort Worth. But I am very proud that our show is going to be happening at the CAC. It's going to be awesome. I can't wait.
Well, we're looking forward to it. It gives a chance to visit a little bit.
I'm going to throw in something a little extra here for you, though, David. Morgan and I were talking on Monday. We're kind of got the ball rolling, started. Wednesday night, I will be calling in. We're going to have pre-recorded interviews and all that. So Wednesday night is going to be more, of a structured format thing. Tuesday night, it's going to be set up. Not only will it be a live call-in from Vegas and the reunion, I will be hosting the show, or co-hosting the show, however you want to put it, in the Nostalgia Room live. As people are walking by, I'm going to be on the air for the entire 90 minutes. I'm not just going to be calling in. It's not going to be all pre-recorded on Tuesday night. Tuesday is going to be completely 100% live. I'm working with Morgan. We've been talking about it a couple days ago. We're kind of getting the ball rolling. So Tuesday night is going to be, for me, one of the biggest nights I've ever had anything in wrestling. 90 minutes
it's a
live
90-minute
as
show,
it happens.
It is.
Here's the deal. It'll be 2 hours on both nights, but Michael is going to be chiming in for 90 minutes because obviously he wants to enjoy the reunion, and I'll cover the rest of the 30 minutes here in Fort Worth. So Michael will be, the shows both will be 2 hours. Michael will be chiming in for 90 minutes, I believe, on both nights, Tuesday and Wednesday. Yes. And then, of course, he wants to go enjoy the reunion, as so he should. So he'll be calling in 90 minutes both nights, and then I'll take over for the remaining 30 minutes and get everybody ready for our show that following Sunday here in Fort Worth. But, yeah, Michael will be calling in for about 90 minutes apiece on the 3rd and the 4th, but there'll be 2-hour shows. And we'll have more information as we get closer to the CAC. We just hammered all the details out this past week. So we're going to get with Carl and get with Morgan and get a little more structure behind this. But, yes, both nights, live from the CAC, simulcast, big business, and we're honored because it is a huge honor to be associated with the CAC in any way.
Well, we'll make sure you get plenty of people on there that you want to get on. And so once I get together with Michael out there, we'll just get the guys lined up ahead of time so there's not a lot of dull dead time in there.
Sounds fantastic.
There's never dull dead time on IHWE.
Any more questions you got for me? One of the big things that we haven't touched on, I guess you were going to, but this is the first time, to my knowledge, since they quit wrestling, that they've ever made a personal appearance, and that's Terry Taylor and Michael Hayes. They don't do autograph shows. They don't do fan fest. To my knowledge, neither one ever has. And here we're going to have them both there at the same time, and that's quite of a big deal because there's not too many people that are more respected with booking and skill knowledge than Terry Taylor, who now is, I guess, is one of the key people down in Florida for their training section. And Michael Hayes is, I think he's head of the creative committee. I'm not positive what his position is, but I know they're both very big key players, and during their wrestling careers, they were always in the top 10. They always have. Michael Hayes is an unbelievable performer and a fantastic guy. He put a microphone in his hand.
Oh, yeah. And that's going to be a huge weekend for Michael Hayes. That's going to be a huge week for the Freebirds because Michael's going to be inducted Wednesday night into the CAC, and then that following Sunday down here in Fort Worth at IHWE, we're going to have the Terry Gordy Memorial Battle Royal with the Terry Gordy Memorial Cup, and Terry's Connie Gordy and Terry's daughters will be there to present the winner with the cup. That's a big week for the fabulous Freebirds. In conjunction with the CAC.
Yours on the weekend? Is it a weekend thing?
It's the following weekend. Yeah, that's Sunday.
Well, you ought to have Mike type up a nice invitation and a letter and explanation that he can give to Michael, because Michael, if the Freebirds are highlighted, Michael Hayes is very interested in helping out. In
Definitely,
fact,
we will do that.
His plaque is to say Freebird Michael Hayes.
Right, definitely. Yeah, Matt Riviera, the IHW champion, he's going to be out there with you guys for the convention.
Oh, yeah, Matt is,
He's going to hightail it back here to defend his title that Sunday here in Fort Worth. So it's going to be great. And we're going to be making an announcement during the Cauliflower Alley Club. And Carl, I'll get with you this week. I actually wanted to call you and talk to you about a few things. I'll get with you sometime this week and run those things by you. But I'm really looking forward to it. It's going to be fantastic. What an honor. I mean, especially from a guy who broke in with Johnny Valentine. It's just phenomenal to be associated with the CAC. I think this is great. It really is.
Yeah, and I'll promise you also a little bit of time with Nick Bockwinkel on your show.
Oh, that's great. That's great.
How about I'll promise you at least 5 minutes with Dick Byers, the Destroyer.
Oh, the Destroyer. I love the Destroyer.
Wow. So, David, I'm looking forward to this more and more now. This is just getting better every time we talk here.
They're the board, and I'm still chairman of the board, so they got to do what I ask them to.
That's right. That's why we call Carl, because Carl can get it done.
No, Carl?
Yeah,
Carl?
Well, one more year.
When I have Nick on?
Oh, Nick, yeah.
When we have Nick on?
Interview.
Oh, I love Nick. I love talking to him every year. But when we have him on, can I have one of those thesauruses or whatever so I can kind of translate? Because I will say from experience, Nick loves using big words when he talks.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he loves it.
And I'm a simple man.
Yeah, he likes to throw some of them big 50-cent words out to you when he can. He loves to look at the expression on people's face when they look at him. What did he say? That kind of a thing.
Oh, that's
well,
great.
People don't realize Nick is a college graduate. He got a degree in business. Besides being, I think Nick still is the longest reigning recognized heavyweight champion, major champion ever. He held the title on and off for over 15 years. It's a long time to carry the banner to keep the promotion going.
I can share one quick story about Nick and all that. When you were on back in January, Carl, you mentioned that my daughter was the youngest member of the Cauliflower Alley Club. She joined at the age of 3 days old.
Right.
I think it was the night after she signed up. I got a call from Nick Bockwinkel. You set that up. And I remember answering the phone, and I heard this voice go, Michael McCurdy. I'm all, yes. And he goes into Nicholas. I'm not sure his full name now.
Nicholas Warren Bockwinkel.
There you go. Nicholas Warren Bockwinkel. How are you today, sir? And I was just absolutely amazed. He congratulated me on the birth of my daughter. We talked for a couple minutes. But the fact that he took the time out just to call, even for just like 3 minutes, just to congratulate me on the birth of my daughter and all that, that is something I always remember. And I still have the number that came up saved on my phone just so I can actually go and say, hey, look, right here, he called.
Yeah. Nick was one of the guys that whenever I would ask him, I had a half a dozen guys that I could really rely upon for Make-A-Wish or children's hospitals and stuff like that. Some guys wouldn't do it, not because they didn't want to do it, but because they were just too squeamish about doing it. And that was something I always required. Whenever we went to another town, we always came in town by noon, and we went to the children's ward of the local hospital, one or two. And that was just something that I required of my wrestlers, and most of them got used to it. But I remember Tanaka come out of there, and he had tears. He couldn't control the tears when he had to spend some time with two children in a burn ward. He just come out there. He said, "Don't ever make me do that again." He said, "I'll give them pictures, I'll give them money, I'll sing for them, I'll stand on my head, but don't make me go in there and try to cheer them up when I know they're going to be dead in a week."
Right. Understandable.
But we had some great talents like that there. My main crew all them years was guys that were big stars before they came to me, and they finished their career with me. Tanaka was with me for almost 10 years. Tolas for the last 6 or 7 years of his career. Wildman Jack Armstrong, Budokan. I don't know if you got your new ear in the mail already, but you read about Budo last thing. Most people have no idea just all that guy has done in his life. He probably has done more in his life than most superstars. But he was always content staying in California, and I'd farm him out to Vern a lot, AWA. But he was busy with roller derby, recording rock and roll songs. Heck, he had like 13 top 10 hit records.
Oh, by the way,
I read
Carl,
that
Ron Hutchinson wanted me to tell you hi. He just messaged me on Facebook.
Oh, shit, huh? Yeah, well, I'm hoping Ron's going to call me right after WrestleMania with a huge announcement. But I can't tell you anything about it because nothing is guaranteed. But we are sure hoping that whoever inducts Ron Hutchinson is going to be somebody of importance, because Ron has been a major part of an awful lot of major guys' careers.
Indeed.
I don't know if I went to a seminar last year, but it's the first seminar that anybody did where out of the 80 or 90 people that filled out forms, everyone graded them a 10. That's phenomenal.
I was at that seminar. I filled out one of the reports. Yeah, I gave him a 10. That was a great seminar.
Yeah, we didn't. If anybody, everyone that Bob Leonard said, everyone gave him a 10. I mean, particularly when he did his hands-on with Edge and Beth Phoenix. They came up there and he actually showed moves. He didn't just talk. And the thing that impressed me with Ron, I was expecting the guy to be 6'6". He's no bigger than me. And he's just a fantastic trainer and just a real humble guy, just a nice person.
All right.
Wow.
Well, Carl, we've had a great time having you on, Carl, and we're looking forward to having you on again on the 28th of May for our All CAC show. And I'm hoping that as more major announcements come from the CAC board and all that, you'll let us know, and we can announce that also on the show and build that up. And we've enjoyed talking with you, Carl, and I hate to do this, but all great things must come to an end, unfortunately. So
that's all right.
Thank you for joining us.
I'm an old man. I'm almost my bedtime.
You're 40.
All right, Carl. Thank
Stop
you for
it.
joining us.
Yep.
Thank you, Carl. It's been an honor.
Thank you for having me in. Feel free to call any old time.
All right, Carl. I'll be in touch.
Okay, buddy. Take care of yourself.
Thank you. You too. Bye-bye.
Bye.
You have a good night, Carl.
Wow, ladies and gentlemen. Carl Lauer just gave us a history lesson. We're going to catch our breath. We'll be right back with more IHWE Radio.
For the first time ever, the Mid-South Legends Fan Fest will take place Friday, April 4th in Charlotte, Louisiana at the Seeger Center. Don't miss Q&A with the founder of Mid-South Wrestling, Cowboy Bill Watt, with Jim Cornette, a Cajun dinner with the stars, photo ops with legends like the Midnight Express, Mr. Wrestling 2, Mr. Olympia, Kamala, and more. Oh, but there's more. In the evening, the Battle Lines Live Wrestling event will feature a JYD Memorial Cup Battle Royale honoring the late Junkyard Dog, plus the Rock and Roll Express, Bill Dundee, Tommy Dreamer, the Pope, Elijah Bird, the Masterpiece, Chris Adonis, all be in action. Plus Dark Journey Empire in a 6-man tag team match. And Mickie James will take on Angelina Love in the Squared Circle. Make your plans now to attend this once-in-a-lifetime event Friday, April 4th at the Seeger Center in Charlotte. For more information, go to MidSouthLegends.com. Be a part of Mid-South history today.
Welcome back to IHWE Radio, and wow, we just dropped a bombshell. If you are just joining us, we just announced, after going through a history lesson with Karl Lauer during the CAC, the annual 49th annual Cauliflower Alley Convention on, Tuesday night, June 3rd, and Wednesday night, June 4th, at 6 p.m. Central, 4 p.m. Pacific Time, back-to-back nights. We will be simulcasted live here in Fort Worth and in Las Vegas. Viva Las Vegas with the Cauliflower Alley Convention. Our host, Michael McCurdy, will be on site at the convention, and he will be, he's going to have his work cut out for him. Carl's talking about some big names. We're really looking forward to it. And, wow, that's all I can say, Mike.
Man, I'm going to have to work at the reunion this year. I mean, I knew we were going to do a live simulcast. I was going to get us some guests, no problem there, but I'm going to get Nick. I'm going to get talk to Nick Bocklink. I'm going to get talk to the Destroyer. I talk to these guys every year when I'm there. They're great guys, but this is going to be on a professional capacity. I got to host this show, and man, I'm going to have to start working.
Wow.
I got to practice.
Wow. Well, we got a lot to get to and not a whole lot of time to get to it, ladies and gentlemen. So, unfortunately, we're not going to be taking any more callers. We've got a lot to get to, so we apologize in advance. We've only got a little bit more time. It's a big week for wrestling, and we've got a lot to cover. So, if you're calling in and you want to listen, that's great. But, unfortunately, we're not going to be able to take any more live calls. So, it's a forewarning. Real quick, programming note. Next week, we will be coming to you at 3 p.m. Central Standard Time. Next week is a very special afternoon edition of IHWE Radio. We're going to have Jason Sanderson, who wrestles for Texas All-Star Wrestling. Texas All-Star Wrestling was honored into the Texas Wrestling Hall of Fame last year in Fort Worth, Texas.
No.
Bob Murphy is the promoter. Michael,
That's
did you
Jason
say
Sullivan.
something?
That's Jason Sullivan that works for Texas All-Star Wrestling.
I'm sorry. I got it confused.
Right. We're going to have Jason Sanderson on next week, who's one of the members of the board of the Cauliflower Alley Club. He's actually Bishop Jason Sanderson. He wrestled as the Wolfman back in the 90s, I think it was. And also he is the author of a series of books called Roadhouse Sons. We're going to be talking about his career as a writer, author of the Roadhouse Sons novels, as well as his wrestling career. Jason Sullivan, who's with Texas All-Star Wrestling, will be joining me May 7th for our Portland Wrestling Tribute, and then we will also have him on later on this summer as a guest to talk about his wrestling career and his time with DOA. He's one of the co-owners of that promotion up there in Portland, Oregon. So,
I apologize. Yeah. I do apologize, ladies and gentlemen. I talk to a lot of people every day being a promoter, and I do apologize. So Jason Sanderson will be joining us next week. And not only that next week, I apologize again. Jason Sanderson, not Jason Sullivan. Sullivan will be joining us later, as Michael pointed out. Again, my apologies. It's live radio. I get names confused very easily. They both start with Jason. They both start with S.
I agree. It's hard for me to keep it straight, too.
Jason Sanderson will join us next week. Not only that, we're very honored to have the great Jerry Jarrett on as well. Jerry Jarrett has been an owner of the territory, has been a booker, and has just been he's one of the guys that helped start TNA. He's been an owner in the Memphis territory for years. He's been a booker. He's done it all. Jerry Jarrett's going to be our guest next week. I cannot wait to talk to Jerry Jarrett. Again, that is next week, 3 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time. The download, the archive, I should say, like always, will be updated fairly quickly after the show airs. So if you cannot listen to the live 3 o'clock show, we understand. Make sure you listen to the archive. This one's going to be one you can't miss. Next week, it's going to be Jerry Jarrett and Jason Sanderson, not Sullivan. So, again. All right. this weekend.
One other thing about Jerry Jarrett, real fast, if you don't mind. One other thing. This is what I'm looking forward to. In the history of World Class, Jerry Jarrett plays a big part because in 1988, he actually owned 60% of the World Class territory, which is one thing I want to talk about a little bit. It was actually what set it up where World Class became basically the Dallas office of the USWA in 89, 1990. So that's one thing I'm looking forward to talking about. I want to kind of hear, from the actual one of the men who was there, because that's a pivotal moment in Texas wrestling right there.
Right. I agree 100%. Sorry, I was responding to Morgan. Morgan, you're listening out there. How's it going, brother? Can't wait to work with you. You've always been nothing but class to me. And I guess, if you want to be nice to Michael, fine. If not, it's okay. All right, ladies and gentlemen. Well, oh, by the way, hold the hell on for a second. So, if we were in a match, you would go over. This coming from a guy, I've got 10 years experience in the ring, and I was trained by one of the toughest guys to ever step inside the squared circle, Johnny Valentine. You may be bigger than me, pal, but I guarantee you, on the mat, I know probably a little more than you do, and if I get into a situation, I probably know a counter. Johnny Valentine, brother. Keep that in mind. So,
but I'll see.
If you want to Bastion Booger yourself into the ring with me, that's fine. We can set it up down here.
Can I wear the outfit?
All right. Yeah.
Can I wear the outfit?
If you cover my payroll because I won't have any fans, sure.
Oh, we'll draw tons of fans. All right, we're going off on some weird tangent now, so let's get back on track.
Morgan said he'll ref the match and I will win. So there you go. Right there.
But Morgan's a cheating ref.
Don't say that. Morgan calls it right down the middle. Sometimes his hand just veers off to the left. It's all right. Morgan's the man. Morgan is my guy, Morgan Dollar. His last name is Dollar. You know why? Because he's got a license to print money. Morgan Dollar. All right.
His last name is Dollar because you can give him money to throw the match. No, just kidding.
No. He's never thrown anything in his life.
I'm just having a good time.
Morgan's never thrown anything in his life but a baseball or softball. He doesn't throw matches. Come on now. No.
He's thrown back
anyway,
a few
ladies and gentlemen.
In Vegas.
Maybe thrown back a few. There you go. You're catching on now. It's going to be spectacular. License to print money. # Morgan Dollar. License to print money. Let's get that trending. All right. Now that we have gone off on a tangent, let's get back to the things. This coming weekend is Wrestlemania weekend. It is that and the Cauliflower Alley Club, the biggest weekends in professional wrestling. This coming weekend, the Hall of Fame ceremony. If you're a WWE Network subscriber, which I hope most of you are, it looks like all the kinks have been worked out. This weekend will be the true test. Starting tomorrow, 5 p.m. Central, there will be a WrestleMania Today show going on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. Friday night, I'm really looking forward to this. There'll be those Legends roundtables that everybody loves. There'll be one happening at Fan Access on Friday night, and they'll be talking about the Legends of WrestleMania. Don't know who the roundtable is going to be. I'm excited because there's going to be a lot of legends down there. Saturday, of course, is the Hall of Fame. It is my favorite event of the year, obviously, with the Texas Wrestling Hall of Fame. I love the Hall of Fame. It's going to be very unique this year with the Ultimate Warrior. We had our good friend Big Bill Anderson on a few weeks ago, and Big Bill had a hand in when the Ultimate Warrior broke in. I watched the Ultimate Warrior DVD yesterday, and the Warrior talks about training with Red Bastien, and Big Bill Anderson is the ring announcer of the Ultimate Warrior versus Bobby Heenan match. And clear as day, Bill Anderson's right there, and I mentioned it on Facebook and Twitter. So that's pretty cool. The DVD is really cool. Say what you want to about the Ultimate Warrior. He had a run. He was a colorful character. People still talk about him to this day. And one of the Blu-ray extras is him and Matt Bourne. Everybody knows my history with Matt. So it's really cool. Jake Roberts is going in, which is long overdue. A great success story. Razor Ramon's going in, one of my favorite characters, another success story. Carlos Colon, Lita, Mr. T, and Percy Pringle, Paul Bearer will be inducted on Saturday night. And then WrestleMania on Sunday. Now, the big question on everybody's mind is what's going to happen. I mean, you know, it was really a lot of people have been really dissecting this. And, you know, after this past Monday, this whole Daniel Bryan thing, it's hard to fathom. It's really hard to put this into just thoughts. There's a possibility that Daniel Bryan could walk in, you know he's going to go 30 minutes with Triple H, and then turn around and be inserted into the world title match and walk out the world champion and kill two birds with one stone. Not literally. Don't throw rocks at me, people. I mean, is this really going to happen, Michael? I mean, do you really do think that Daniel Bryan, without a shadow of a doubt, is going to walk in and walk out the man in one night?
Are you talking to me? I'm sorry, I got some noise in the background here. It's what happens when you have three small children. I've stated my opinion. Thank you. I've stated my opinion on a few times. Daniel Bryan, Triple H, Daniel Bryan's going over. And at the main event, it's going to be Randy Orton, Batista, Daniel Bryan. Daniel Bryan is going to walk out of New Orleans with the title. That's my opinion. That's a lot of people's opinions. It's time. I want to hear the yes chant. I got my yes movement shirt. So, yeah, Daniel Bryan's going over. They cannot end WrestleMania any other way. If they do, New Orleans is going to have another catastrophe. You cannot let Daniel Bryan not go over at WrestleMania this year. This is what the fans are waiting for.
Yeah, I mean, it certainly has become very interesting now that Daniel Bryan is in this situation. So I'm really, I'm looking forward to it. I think it's going to be really, really good. Hopefully, Daniel Bryan does get his moment. This weekend is huge. So many talents will have the opportunity to be seen by the worldwide audience that comes to Nolans, as they say, for WrestleMania. Mid-South Legends is being put on this coming Friday. It's April 4th at the historic Cider Center in Chalmette, Louisiana. And that's going to be zip code 70043. Mid-South Legends tickets can be purchased at midsouthlegends.com. They still have some VIP tickets. They have a merchandise section right now, and you can actually get the Mid-South Legends DVD, which that's going to be taped on Friday. The T-shirt in the program for $44.95, which I think is a hell of a deal.
I heard about mine.
I did as well. I'm going to read off a couple of things about this card. I have a lot of friends that are going to be there. 8 a.m. registration. 9 a.m. is going to be the early bird for all the VIPs. 9:30 is going to be the Breakfast of Champions. We did mention that earlier. That's only going to be available if you're a VIP ticket holder. At 10 a.m., the doors are going to open to the public. At 11 a.m., you get your first autograph signing with the Rock and Roll Express, the Midnight Express, Jim Cornette, the Fantastics, Bobby Fulton, and Tommy Rogers, and Superstar Bill Dundee. 11 a.m., 12, and 1, there's going to be 3 hours of different photo ops. At 2 p.m., the second autograph signing will take place, and I'm going to read off the list of names for that autograph signing, and they include Cowboy Bill Watts, Kamala with Friday, Mr. Wrestling 2, Mr. Olympia Jerry Stubbs, Sheep Herder Luke, Dark Journey, and Pork Chop Cash. For the next 3.5 hours, there will be photo ops. And Mickey James will be included in the photo op. She'll be there. At 4:45, for Platinum VIPs, you're going to get early entrance to the Cajun-style dinner. There's going to be a Cajun-style dinner. And if you're a VIP ticket holder, you enjoy your dinner and get to participate in a Q&A with Cowboy Bill Watts and Jim Cornette. At 6:30, the doors will open for the Battle Lines wrestling event. At 6:45, you get another opportunity to get your picture taken with Mickey James. And at 7:30, the bell time. That's right, the bell time for Battle Lines. The JYD Memorial Cup Battle Royal will be taking place. That is going to be big, big. Barbie Hayden, the NWA World Heavyweight Champion, is going to defend the title against Angelina Love. A 6-man tag team match. Scott Phoenix, Americos, and Tommy Dreamer are going to take on Greg Anthony, Tim Storm, and the IHWE Heavyweight Champion, Matt Riviera. Superstar Bill Dundee is going to take on the King, Shane Williams. And one of the feature attractions, the Rock and Roll Express, Ricky Morton and Robert Gibson are going to take on Genetic Perfection with Rich Rude. A special challenge match is going to be Steve Anthony, who's a huge star in the Southwest, is going to take on the Pope, Elijah Burke. And a grudge match, Chris Adonis is going to battle the big man, Lance Hoyt. And an added attraction, it's going to be Sigmund and Kincaid, 2 stars of traditional championship wrestling, against Vordell Walker and John Saxon. And the host of Mid-South Legends Fan Fest and Battle Lines is going to be SoCal Val. You may remember her from TNA. So, yeah, it's going to be that's going to be a loaded show. MidSouthLegends.com. And we will be right back.
The legends of Mid-South are back. The Mid-South Legends Fan Fest takes place Friday, April 4th in Chalmette, Louisiana at Seeger Center. Cowboy Bill Watts, Jim Cornette, and the Midnight Express, Mr. Wrestling 2, the Rock and Roll Express, and many more are slated for this once-in-a-lifetime event. You'll also see live wrestling featuring the JYD Memorial Cup, Mickey James versus Angelina Love, and a host of others. Get your tickets now. For more info, go to MidSouthLegends.com.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, Mid-South Wrestling, MidSouthLegends.com, this Friday night in Chalmette, Louisiana. Be there. It's going to be huge. And we want to thank Morgan. I want to thank Morgan for saying that he would referee the match between me and Michael and I would win. I do want to thank Morgan. I also want to thank Carl for coming on.
Don't forget to send Morgan your check tomorrow.
No. He doesn't need a check. He's got a license to print money. I want to thank Carl for coming on and spending a good amount of time with us tonight. Carl's a very busy man, and he told some great stories. I loved hearing the story about Andre the Giant, and Carl's got such a history in this business. Next week, Jason Sanderson, not Sullivan, and Jerry Jarrett will join us. 3 p.m. Central Standard Time will be when the show airs live. The archive will be up quickly thereafter. And if you missed the announcement, we will be taking part in the 49th Annual Cauliflower Alley Convention. We will have back-to-back simulcast Tuesday and Wednesday during the week of the convention. Michael's going to be out in Las Vegas as I'm down here at headquarters in Fort Worth, getting Fort Worth ready for the huge IHW experience coming up on June the 8th. So, wow. And then all leading up to, starting in May, we'll have different Cauliflower Alley Club executives, members, honorees, and people just involved with the Cauliflower Alley Club. We'll have a different guest on each week as we build toward it. We're very proud of the association we have with the CAC. They're nothing but fantastic people, everybody. And before we sign off tonight, Michael mentioned this earlier, but I want to say it because he's a friend of mine, and we talk on a pretty consistent basis. And apparently this past week, Rob Schamberger was on a radio show called BoardWrestlingFan.com. They're friends of mine, Joe Kent, G. Hall. They're great people. They're out of Buffalo in Canada. And apparently Rob said some really nice things about me. And for somebody like Rob who hobnobs with Jim Ross and Mick Foley and is actually taking part in Wrestlemania this year and showing the world what we already knew, that means a lot. You know, you do this for so long, you hear so many negative, and then every once in a while you hear something positive. And to hear it from a guy like Rob, it really meant the world. So I want to say thank you for taking the time to say something positive about me. I really appreciate it. And good luck this weekend, sir. I cannot wait to get you on, and we need to schedule him shortly after WrestleMania. And I want to hear his experience, and I want to hear his take on everything. And I cannot wait. I hope to log on to Instagram and Twitter all weekend, Rob, and I hope to see the faces of the people that buy your art. I want to see their faces, and I want to see all the art. I want to see it. So if you're listening to this show, fans, and you're going this weekend and you purchase it, hashtag Rob Schamberger somewhere, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. Put it up somewhere so people like me and Michael can see it, because he's one of our boys, and it's pretty cool. It's like one of our boys is making it. He's going to WrestleMania. How cool is that? So yeah, Michael, any closing words?
This weekend with Mid-South Wrestling Legends Fan Fest and the Hall of Fame on Saturday, WrestleMania on Sunday, this is probably one of the biggest weekends to be a wrestling fan. I mean, there is just so much out there. I'm looking forward to hearing all the news from the Legends Fan Fest. I'm looking forward to hearing all the reports from Access. Rob, like David said, I want to see some pictures. I want to see 30 years of WrestleMania on that canvas. That's what I'm looking forward to. And definitely looking forward to the pay-per-view. WrestleMania is my Super Bowl. I got people coming over. We're cooking some food. I mean, we make it a party. So this is a big weekend for wrestling. And in June, as you said, is going to be a big weekend for IHWE Radio. I am looking forward to that simulcast. I will be live in the Nostalgia Room on Tuesday night. The show, who knows? Michael Hayes may walk by. Stone Cold Steve Austin may walk by. Jim Ross may walk by. And if I'm lucky, I'm going to reach out, grab him. We're going to talk for a few minutes. Well, maybe not grab him.
As long as they don't slug you for grabbing him.
Austin might kick my ass.
I wouldn't grab Stone Cold Steve Austin.
I will politely ask Mr. Austin if he would like to stop over and talk for a few minutes. But I'm going to do my best to put on one hell of a show at the Cauliflower reunion. I want to make sure that the people who can't attend, David, they feel like they're there. So it's going to be great. It was a major announcement. We will have some advertisements and banners going up here immediately after this show to further advertise.
They're already up. They're already up.
They're already up. We are on
They're already up. That's like Mark Henry, that's what I do.
And you do it well, sir. I appreciate it. I love coming on here every week and doing this show with you. I was talking with Morgan just a minute ago, and his exact words are he loved the show and we're nuts the way we're talking. But as I told him, we love doing this. We have fun with it, so we look forward to it every week. But on that note,
it's going to be fantastic.
Oh, it's going to be a great time. And on that note, I'm going to give you guys all the usual. You can find me on Facebook at Encyclopedia World Class. You can find me on Twitter at EncycloWCCW. Rumble in the Redwoods #1 will be on YouTube, so I will be on YouTube soon. As soon as I have all that information, I will gladly share that with all the audience out there. I still don't do Instagram. And we got some other big things coming up along with the Cauliflower reunion. This summer is going to be a big summer for IHWE Radio. We got some good stuff coming up. And, David, I'm going to pass it over to you. Say what you got to say. Do your thing. Let people know where they can find you. And I will say good night.
Well, thank you, Michael. Also, I didn't announce this, but I heard from my video editor today that the IHWE Texas Wrestling Hall of Fame ceremony should be up by this weekend on YouTube. So not only will WrestleMania be running wild, but hopefully, we'll be hashtagging Nolans, we'll be hashtagging WrestleMania, and hopefully the fans, if you've got a dull moment in New Orleans, which hopefully none of you do, you can pull up your tablet, you can pull up your cell phone, And you can watch Stan the Lariat Hansen. You can watch Connie Gordy. You can watch Gorgeous Gary Young talk about being inducted into the Texas Wrestling Hall of Fame from March 15th. I spoke to Terry Funk yesterday, and hopefully he's going to be a guest on IHWE Radio. All right, ladies and gentlemen, technical issue. We do apologize. We got a few minutes left. Anyway, live radio. Anyway, like I was saying, the IHWE Texas Wrestling Hall of Fame ceremony will hopefully be up this weekend on YouTube. Go back and relive Stan the Lariat Hansen. Go back and relive Gorgeous Gary Young, Connie Gordy speaking about Terry, Skander Akbar's family, and vice versa. If you have a dull moment in New Orleans this weekend, which hopefully none of you do, you'll be able to pull out your cell phone, pull out your tablet, pull out your laptop, go to the IHWE YouTube site, and check this out. I spoke to Terry Funk yesterday. Hopefully we're going to have him on soon on IHWE Radio. It's a big week, ladies and gentlemen. Make sure youtube.com/IHWE2009. You can check us out on Facebook at facebook.com/IHWE Pro Wrestling. I am on Twitter at HXCFuller. We got a lot coming. Next week, Jerry Jarrett, Jason Sanderson, 3 p.m. We got some guests coming on in April. It's going to be big. Cannot wait. Starting in May, every week we're going to have a CAC, someone affiliated with the Cauliflower Alley Convention on. We're counting down to the Cauliflower Alley Club Convention in Las Vegas, Nevada, June 3rd, June 4th, back-to-back simulcast of IHWE Radio. During the CAC, it's going to be spectacular, so don't you dare miss it. You stay right here on IHWE Radio. We've got a lot of good stuff coming. We want to thank you for listening wherever you are. We want to wish everybody who's in New Orleans this weekend, have a good time, have a safe time, support every single piece of wrestling you can this weekend. Support Evolve, support Ring of Honor, support Mid-South Fan Fest, MidSouthLegends.com. Go have a blast at Wrestlemania. Go to the Hall of Fame. If you can't make it, enjoy all the wrestling you can via iPay-per-view or via the WWE Network. Make sure you buy. If you can't go to Mid-South Legends Fan Fest, get the DVD, get the program, get the shirt. You'll never see another event like this. MidSouthLegends.com. Also, if you got more time to get your Cauliflower Alley Club tickets, caulifloweralleyclub.org. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm out. This is a big week. Stuff to do. New Orleans, you're going to be set on fire in a matter of hours by this business that we love called professional wrestling. New Orleans is going to be set on fire. Not literally. That's what the pro wrestling business does. I hope to see nothing but sellouts and nothing but people turned away this weekend. Everybody have a good time. Everybody performing this weekend. Be safe. Do what you love. I can't wait to see it. Big weekend. WrestleMania, New Orleans, Mid-South Fan Fest, ROH, Evolve. So much to go. Ladies and gentlemen, wherever you are, have a good night from IHWE Radio. See you next week.